Good day. Welcome to Technitto, and I'm glad to introduce our flagship product, OS VASP. OS VASP stands for Operating System Vulnerability Assessment Scanning Platform. Yeah, so it's not just a vulnerability assessment or auditor, but it's more about the hardening of the environment, and also it gives a real-time report. Yeah, so I'm glad to introduce the product to ABT, and thank you very much for offering Technito to work with ABT. Thank you. So let me give a quick intro about who we are. So Technito initially started in the year 2012 as in the name of Global Catalyst. In 2020, we are rebranding it as Technito, and we are offering a lot of technology products and SaaS offerings. Yeah. So OS VASP is one of the IT security product. That's what we are going to cover today. And we have other products like JBook is a data warehouse product for healthcare in managing their inventory. We also have infra as a service and PaaS, platform as a service offering. Being a partner with Red Hat and many other partnerships, we have the skill to build the public cloud and private clouds. Yeah, so the data centers like ABT might be using VMware infrastructure. Using Red Hat, we can reduce the cost of license, and we can build a OpenStack based cloud for your customers. So that's one of the other offering we would like to share over time. So let me just start with what is OS VASP. Yeah. So before getting into OS VASP, I would like to show you our capabilities. Technito is partnered with major vendors, especially our partners are IBM, Red Hat, Google, AWS, VMware, SAP, SUSE, Microsoft. Yeah. We also have strategic partnership with Tata Consultancy, and we have listed our product with the TCS as well. Okay, so let me just give a quick overview about OS VASP, because there are many vulnerability assessment and penetration testing tool in the market, and most of the data centers like ABT, which is a well-established data center in South India, might be using proprietary vulnerability assessment tools. Yeah, so this is not another vulnerability assessment platform. So that's what an eye opener I would like to give, and this would help ABT and Technito to have a mutual partnership in further enhancing the product to the next level. Okay, so we all know that a vulnerability assessment is run once in a year or twice in a year, and what it normally does is it will run on a system and it will understand the possible vulnerabilities listed in the OS, and it may suggest the solutions to it. Oh, and it's run only once, so it's not a real-time reporting. Yeah. So what we have come up with is like there are many compliance agencies like CIS, Center for Internet Security, DISA, NIST. They have listed a lot of benchmarks. Yes, I'll show you a few of the benchmarks. So they have benchmarked an operating system to be compliant for the security aspects. Okay, so there are around 600 plus checks that has to be done. But in real time, while installing an operating system, care may not be given. Or even if you have downloaded a hardened operating system, there are possibilities that during a troubleshooting session, one of your system admin would have changed a file permission, or you would have installed some packages, or you would have enabled, disabled few services, but that is not checked. Yeah. So this particular tool, which is running on that host, will look for all those compliance checks, sorry, and report that compliance to the centralized server where we get alerts and reports. Yeah. So the companies like ABT, which is a data center or a hosting company, and also we are also doing the cloud. We are also a cloud provider. So companies of this large size will have n number of machines, and on all these VMs and physical machines, continuously running vulnerability assessment is a pain. Yeah. So understanding that particular context, and also to comply with all the standards, we have built a viable product which doesn't have a UI now, but it is functional in terms of finding the compliance checks for CIS for all flavors of Unix. Okay, so we have a roadmap to cover Windows and VMware and other flavors as well. But at this point in time, we have Linux built. By end of this year, we are planning to have an array of operating system covered by OS VASP. Okay, so what is the challenges that data center might have is you might be running the OWASP and other vulnerability and web application scanners on websites, applications, and DBs. Yeah, so less care is given to your operating system. Ideally, while installing an OS or during the hardening process, or once in a while, we take care of our OS, but that is the heart and soul of the environment. If an OS is compromised, the DB application, everything is compromised. Yeah. So, as a data center admin and data center head, you are well aware that operating system plays a very vital role and that needs to be secured in real time. We know that there are multiple flavors, like it might be a Windows system, it can be a Unix system, and it can be a mobile device like Android or iOS. So for all flavors of OS, we need to have the compliance done. Yeah, so there are a lot of complaints in the market, and the environment can be physical, virtual, or cloud, and every instance are differently configured. For a database, a machine will be OS will be installed and special packages will be installed. For an application server, the different packages are installed. So every machines are different. Though it is installed once, during the process, configuration changes. Yeah. And if you look at the CVE score, there are roughly around 1,000 plus vulnerabilities for each operating system and application. So keeping tab with those CVEs are not that easy. And there are different benchmark agencies like CIS, DISA, and NIST. So they are publishing a lot of new benchmarks once in a quarter or once or twice in a year. So even that keeping those complaints is a challenge for a company or size of ABT type of data center. So to keep the compliance requirements, we are proposing our solution, which is given absolutely free for ABT as a win-win situation because we want to maturize the product with the ABT through the MCT students as our core members, yeah, developing the product to the next level. And in reward, we would like to give the licenses absolutely free for you and for your customers at a very subsidized price. In return, we expect an environment to work in the ABT's infrastructure, probably initially on a test development environment and slowly to the production. And we want to have ABT as one of our referenceable customer. So that's the objective of this call. Yeah. So by default, when you install an OS, especially Linux, 60% is already hardened, but there are still 30-40% remaining to be hardened. Yeah, and during troubleshooting, sysadmins keep changing the hardened policies, or they keep updating the file permissions or so. So that will open a lot of vulnerabilities in the operating system, which you cannot scan because there are hundreds and thousands of files and n number of services to be monitored. And different system needs different policy and different scoring. So standard vulnerability tools in the market doesn't provide that. They do a standard scan and report all the vulnerabilities. But where we can give you policies for each system, so you can have different policies to be created. Yeah. So normally hardening is done with a change management. So even that can also be incorporated in our system. When you approve a change, then those change gets deployed on all the machines. Yeah. And we all know that different flavors of Linux and different flavors of Windows have different commands to be executed. So you need not worry about what command to run. The system is intelligent enough to understand the OS level, OS version, and automatically execute the right command in fixing the hardening script. So that's the high level about our product. But still, I would like to give you a lot of global data. So there are 100% of the supercomputers are run in Linux as of 2019. Yeah, so all big systems are running on Linux, and 25 websites, the top 25 websites, only two are not using Linux. Remaining are using Linux, and 96.3% of the world's top 1 million servers run on Linux, and all most of the cloud servers and cloud infrastructures, yeah, around 90% of them are running on Linux. And the Android dominated environment like the mobile OS are also of Linux flavors, and 85% of the smartphones are Linux. I know in ABT it might be have a different mix, but I'm sure that you might be having at least a 50-50 ratio. By implementing our product initially, we can take care of your 50%. Once we grow and we maturize with Windows, the entire 100% of the infrastructure will be covered. Okay, so I would like to give you quick features about OS VASP. Okay, so number one, it is agentless. So when I say agentless, you need not install any softwares or programs on your target machines. What we want you to do is we have a OS VASP engine or the tower machine as a Linux-based VM, which can be launched on your environment on the specific IP range, and the SSH key of the authorized key has to be copied onto the target machines which are licensed. Okay, so just copy the authorized keys and the machine will take control of the machine and get the required inputs. So it's agentless, no software has to be installed. Second, we are using native programming, which means that for Unix, we are using the shell program, so shell scripting. So there is no additional software requirements. So the product itself is more secure and using the default programming languages. It's centralized scanning and reporting, so you need not run on every machine. So on one particular machine, which is called the tower machine, where you can configure your targets, and the targets will be centralizedly scanned. You can have real-time scan, or you can program for every 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. So it will keep scanning those targets on these set intervals. It will collect reports. If you want to set an alarm, we can set an alarm as well. It is modular and policy driven. I'll cover what is modular and policy driven. That there are 600 checks. You need know if you want to run all the 600 checks, you can run the policy and it will run. Or in a policy, you want to run a specific modules, you can run a specific modules. Or if you want to run a specific check in the module, even that can be run. So it is more containerized and modularized product. And it also supports all major versions of the Linux listed here: RHEL, OEL, CentOS. So I know ABT is primarily using CentOS as your Linux flavor. So we definitely support that. All industry standard benchmarks like CAS, NIST, DISA are supported, and CAS is the primary complaints that we refer to. And the target customers and target systems are data centers, hosting, and cloud providers. And the ABTs are apt fit for us, where our solution works well with a client of ABT size. We are bringing up new things like asset inventory. So this asset inventory will bring a lot of facts for you, for the data center team. So it will give you a lot of insights about what is the BIOS version, what is the hardware version, how much memory it has. So all the even the hardware related inventory details also we can pull over time, and even that is part of the roadmap. So you have a centralized inventory of your infrastructure. Okay, so let me just give a very quick high level about the architecture. Okay, on the left you see Technitto OS VASP, a cloud. Actually, this is the cloud where we have default policies. Yeah, so we'll build the policies and publish it to you. You can pull the policies, make custom edits, and you can use the policies. So we help you build the policies. We also bring updates, for instance, CAS benchmark or any changes to the operating system. So we bring in those updates, you can pull those updates and you can push it to your environment. So there is no need of you doing those changes to the environment. And the license activation, like when you are adding more targets, you might need more licenses. So licenses also will be generated on our cloud. So in our cloud, we are not keeping any data of your environment. We are just keeping the generalized information which you pull, customize, and use it. Yeah, so that's what we keep in our environment. So all your privacy, all your data is secure at your location. irrespective whether it is your data center, hosting provider, or cloud provider, just we consider them. So what we give you is a global presentation server, which is called a tower machine, where you will download the policies from our environment and use those towers with policies in the tower, and you can create users and also add your targets on this particular tower machine. So tower machine is a centralized engine to manage your entire infrastructure. Yeah. If your environment is so huge, you can also have distribution server which can manage multiple infrastructure. But for ABT size, I think we can go directly with presentation server, just a tower to handle the scenario. Yeah. And on the VMs, VMs will, when you add a new VM to the machine, to the infrastructure, what you normally your clients or you have to do is you have to come to Technitto's cloud, log in, and create a license for your new VM and add that license to the presentation server and use the authorized key from the presentation server, add it to your VM machine. That's it. That VM will be monitored from that point onwards. Yeah. So that as simple as it. So its management is very simple. On the presentation server, you can pull reports, you can see all the alerts. So this is a quick demo about the product. So let me just show you how the command line looks like. So when you run harden, currently it's in the command line mode. We are bringing the UI. Once the UI is developed, then there's no need of command. But I know data center admins and sys admins prefer to see the command line, so we are showing it here. So you see the OEM key. This key is for the target nodes. So for each target node, a key is generated, and that key will be used to check the license validity. So harden command with hyphen P is for the profile. All the uppercase characters like hyphen capital P, hyphen capital M, hyphen capital C is to list what the profiles are, what the modules are, what the checklist are. And small p and small m and hyphen small c are for using the parameters, what profile you have to use or what module you have to check. Yeah. And the hyphen A is to run all the checks and hyphen V is to verbose. So let me just quickly show you uh, on the command. Yeah, when we execute a command, what happens? So let me just switch to the screen and I'll show you on real time. Okay, I type harden hyphen h, will show you the current harden script, what command and how to use it. So let me just show you harden hyphen p will show what are the policies that is currently loaded into the system. You can see that it is CIS policy is there, DISA policy is there, NSA policy is there, and you can also create custom policy. And you can also create many policies like database policy, application policy. So you can create a number of policies so that every machine can be run with a different policy file. Yeah. So let me just take CIS and I'll show you what are the modules. So hyphen capital M will tell you what are the modules in that particular policy. So it will show you the policy list. I'll show you here. So these are the policies that is currently there. So like 1.129. So there are different modules, file system module, software update module, advanced intrusion detection module. So there are n number of modules are there in the system. Yeah. And when you run the policy, like when you say harden hyphen p policy name and you say hyphen a, it will run all the checks and it will list all the policies. Like for example, if you see file sys module, there are around 20 plus file sys modules are there, which will be run and they will say pass and fail. When they succeed, you'll get a pass. When you fail, there's a fail. And there's a different level of scoring is there, level 1, level 2, and also whether the policy has to be scored, a particular check has to be scored, can also be enabled, disabled for your scoring aspect. Once the checks are run complete, you will get a kind of an output here. You can see that there's a custom score, baseline score, and a benchmark score. So benchmark score is a complete run of the 254 plus checks, and all the 254 checks which are checked, out of which 129 are passed, which means roughly 50% of the scoring is there. So if you have a baseline score is something like Technitto prefers that out of 254, 170 checks are mandatorily required for a system to be secure. So out of 170, 85 of them are rightly hardened. So that still shows a 50% on it. And for this demo purpose, I have removed 5 more checks from the list. So after 170, 165, 85 of them are still passed. So we get 51%. So we get a custom scoring like this, and we'll get a very detailed output of the report as well. Yeah. As far as the pricing is concerned, we have 3 models: starter, professional, and enterprise. And starter is for 50 servers, so there's no centralized management. Every machine will have one policy, and each machine will be run manually. From professional onwards, we can run it from centralized. And in professional, we have some limitations on the number of policies, but and the support. But in enterprise, there's unlimited is given at a very nominal cost. So if you look at the cost of the engine, it starts from $2 per server per month to $1 per server per month. So that's the cost. It's a very cheap and best, and it does a real-time scanning for you. Yeah. So before I get to thank you slide, I would like to quickly show you few things on the CAS benchmark. So this is one of the CAS benchmark for Linux. So if you look at this document, this is roughly around 572 pages. So this many checks are to be done for a Linux operating system. Yeah. So if you look at the checks, so from file system configuration from 1.1, so there are n number of checks to be done for file system, software updates, integrity checking, secure boot settings, process hardening. So there are so many settings needs to be checked, and this is manually. It is very tough to do all this checks. Yeah. So I will show you all this being captured in a sheet. Okay. Yeah. If you look at this particular sheet, you will find we have for RHEL, CentOS, OEL. Yeah, so we have made a huge list, of OS and comparing against the multiple checks that needs to be done. Yeah, here it is. So when you look at, there are around many checks. So the filter has been added. So I'll just remove the filters. Okay. You can see that there are many checks are there, and for each operating system. So currently we support RHEL all versions, CentOS all versions, OEL all versions, Ubuntu all versions, SUSE, Amazon Linux. Yeah, so we have the right mappings for CAS benchmark. Yeah, so as a closing note, I thank you for your time and efforts to look into Technitto. And we have an incubation center under MSME CB at our MCET college. And we are glad to work with ABT. And I would like to request giving access to the ABT environment where without affecting your network until you get confidence on us. Yes. So please give us an opportunity to work with you so that we enhance the product to next level. And we want to give this product lifetime free for ABT as a token of thanks. And we want to maturize this product and use ABT as our referenceable first. Thank you. And